There are people around us that we meet on a daily basis, as well as sort of famous people, people who've been identified socially as being particularly adept and excellent in their performance. NLP is the bridge between either being jealous of such people or admiring them. This offers, in Tony Blair's terms, a third way. That is, rather than simply admiring or being jealous of such people. It gives you a specific set of strategies to unconsciously assimilate precisely the differences that make a difference between this genius, let's say, and an average performer in the same niche. It is an accelerated learning strategy. It's a mapping of tacit to explicit knowledge. It's a program which allows you to explore one extreme of human behavior, namely excellence. Side comment, I have been astonished since I first learned about this thing called psychology that its focus is on average performance. Bertrand Russell, I remember reading when I was 9, 10 years old, an article called On Education by Bertrand Russell, in which he proposed something that has a great deal of wisdom. The structure of the educational system, even today, 2003, is closely allied with the structure of the industrial work context. And that the implicit objective of most mass educational systems is the preparation of the citizen to participate in the workforce. I think we could do it a lot better. From my own point of view, we're living in the age of the accountant, the age of the left brain, and that for historical rebalancing purposes, some set of strategies, NLP is an example of this set, some set of strategies which restore the recognition of and the active deployment of unconscious processes as an essential ingredient in learning would serve very well to restore some kind of balance. We are in an age of imbalance at this point in favor of so-called dominant hemisphere. So, NLP then, in summary, in its heart, in its core activity, is the modeling of excellence, which includes a phase of unconscious assimilation in which you suspend all attempts, conscious processes, all attempts to make meaning out of your experience in favor of registering it with macro or micro muscle movements and imitating the behaviors, which are the behaviors that make the difference between the genius and the average, in parallel contexts until you can produce in your behavior and evoke from your group the same responses with the same quality, roughly the same time frame. That's criteria. Until you achieve that criteria, you remain unconscious and imitative. When you achieve that criteria, then click, you switch on all these analytic competencies, all the conscious processes which you work so hard at university and other places to develop. And you go ahead and do a very powerful and challenging part of modeling, which is to find an explicit vocabulary, usually sensory grounded, in which you can code what you are now capable of doing behaviorally. So you have two data points, the model, him or herself, or the team, and your own behavior. Since you have demonstrated through imitation, you can achieve the same results in the world as your original model. Of course, NLP for 99% of the people in the world has nothing to do with what I've just described. It is the utilization of the product of this core process which I've just described. That is, the distinctions between the process of actually modeling excellence and making it explicit, and then its subsequent application after it's been packaged. People like packages. People spend, the majority of people that claim to do NLP are doing NLP application. This is to be applauded. There's lots of creativity in this activity. It's not the core activity. It's capitalizing or exploiting the product of the core activity. That is, the product is an explicit model, which then can be applied in multiple contexts if it's well done. And as I say, this is to be applauded. And my concern expressly is, if no one's modeling, no one's refilling the well. And as you in Western Australia know as well as I do here in London and when I'm in California, it is nearly impossible at this point historically to attend a higher management training, for example, that doesn't consist largely of NLP patterns whether they're so identified as having that as their source or not. This is fine. I have no difficulty with this. I would prefer they mention the source because it would invite people to explore other dimensions which are not being presented in the workshop. But the fact that it's being so deeply integrated into these advanced courses is to be applauded and greeted with joy, because this is the point. The payoff is the application. Obviously, my agenda, which is not very secret, is to recruit people who will engage in the modeling process itself.